Hey everyone, it is Mission Financial Planner is coming at you live on what is today, November 12th. Um, and where did the year go? We're going to talk about your last chance financial planning checklist today. We're going to keep this one kind of short because even though there's a lot to unpack in terms of what the year may have brought for you, at a high level, we really just want to trigger some thoughts about, hey, maybe what does this mean for my income? What does this mean for my investments or my taxes or et cetera, et cetera. So we're just going to jump into it. A couple housekeeping items. One, you're on mute, but we're watching the chat. We're watching the Q&A, so feel free to ask questions as we go. And then we will get this pushed out to YouTube. Ideally later today, but by the end of the week for sure. So you'll be able to review this at a later date. So the checklist, which you've got I know everybody who's on today has a PDF version. You should get the hard copy version sometime next week. It's going to get to you before Thanksgiving, but there's a lot of topics on this. And I'm not going to rattle them all off. We can all read, but we are going to hit a couple of key points with each one. Before I get into it, though, what I want to do is turn it over to Ken and Jason for them to say a few words about just how was 25, what should people really be thinking about in terms of year-end planning, and how is that going to set people up for 26? So, Ken, you go first.
Sure. And it's probably a point we'll bring up a couple times throughout the conversation, but we are 3 consecutive years of double-digit market returns, and it hasn't been smooth. So one thing is to be really thinking about how we are harvesting some of these gains, but then two, getting ready for the next dip, because 3 out of every 10 years is a down market. We had one just about 4 years ago, I guess in 2022. And there are some things that could have been done. This year, there was a big market correction. There were opportunities. Some of us took advantage of it, others did not. But, the sun is shining right now. Let's make some hay. Let's take some of those protections and get ready for whatever comes next, whatever that may be.
Thanks.
Jason?
Well, before we turn over to Jason, Ken, what is that on your left shoulder there? It looks like a train of some kind.
Yes. So between now and December 11th, 2025, we are collecting for our Toys for Tots drive. So please swing by our office right off San Pedro and 410 and drop off some toys. For those of you across the country, find your nearest spot and please take a picture and send it to us. We'd love to share it and thank everybody for their generosity. This is the time for giving. And so let's remember.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Thanks, Ken. Jason, what should people be thinking about?
The OBBBA, right? They just passed that, and has a lot of component pieces in it that they haven't even broke down yet. It's only 900 and something pages, so a real short read. And one of the big things is for the charitable givers, right? If you're charitably inclined, some things that are going to happen next year that's going to change your floor on how much they let you consider itemized when you're charitably giving. So they did put some restrictions in there. That's new to that part. They also increased some of the deductions that you can do. So we might be back to a world where it makes sense to itemize, go standard, itemize, go standard, have a rotation of sorts, potentially, depending on what your tax return looks like. So there's a lot of new and interesting things in that OBBBA.
It's a lot of bees.
Yeah.
Well, we'll stir up that hornet's nest in a little bit here. All right. So in the checklist, and you've all seen our book, you've all heard us talk about our book, The 5 Pillars of Financial Freedom, right? You can see the pillars really are referenced in this checklist. Taxes is a pillar. Retirement, think of income. Retirement income, that's a pillar. Investments, insurance. Jason already mentioned taxes. But then when you think about family, down at the bottom here, that's estate planning. And if there's anybody who's watching this who thinks estate planning is only for quote unquote rich people, estate planning is for everyone. And it's something that the right estate plan can hold a family together after you're gone. The wrong estate plan will tear a family apart once you're gone. So you want to make sure you've got a great estate plan in addition to the other 4 pillars that are so important. Okay, like I said, you're going to get this, or you got this in the mail already. One thing I do want to point out, we do not give tax advice. We do not give legal advice. We can help you with tax planning, which is, as an example, and a very basic example, here's what a Roth conversion does, right? If you're looking for actual tax advice on the dollar for dollar impact on your actual 1040 for doing that, we're going to want to get a tax professional on the phone. In addition to that, from a legal standpoint, we can tell you what a testamentary trust does. We can't write the trust for you, though. That's legal advice. We can't do that. So when you're thinking about through this information, if you haven't already met with me, Ken, or Jason to make sure we know who your tax professional is, who your attorney is, who your property casualty insurance is, who your health insurance agent is, now is the time to make sure we've got that full suite of information, because we want to work with them. We want to make sure that they understand that we're in your corner and we're part of your team, just like they are. And if we can work together, that gives them the greatest opportunity to provide the most holistic value to you. So write down their name, firm, phone number, put it on the back of this, put it on the back, and then send us, take a picture and text it to us, right? Download it into your vault, send it to us. We'd love to have a conversation with you and them to see how we can work better together. Okay, so when you have the checklist itself, the way it works, just go through the checklist. You'll see the different areas you can check off. Send it to us, right? Let us know in the next meeting. And hey, everybody, sometimes we get these in April from people, right? So hang on to this, right? I mean, we get the holidays can get crazy for you, but if you're really concerned about taxes, you're really going to be concerned about them come about April 1st. So make sure that you're sharing this information with us so we can help you. So speaking of taxes, okay, there's that third bullet point on the left there, the One Big Beautiful Bill Act. Jason, if you were to think about 3 or 4 key things people should be thinking about at the end of 25 in terms of what it's going to mean for them next year in 26, what are those 3 or 4 important things?
I think the one big thing is the charitable giving. It's like we have charitable givers that we service, that we take care of now, and they don't understand that they're by raising that floor to 1 or 2% of their AGI is going to cut off some of their gifting. So they think they're gifting now, they think they're getting itemized, and they are today in 2025, but 2026 is going to throw a little bit of a curveball, and it could take them from being itemized to not being itemized. Yet they're still giving and kind of building a bank that they can't use, if that makes any sense. A bank of deductions that cannot be used, which can be disheartening from that end. The other thing would probably revolve around thinking through some of the either carry loss forwards or tax loss harvesting that should be going on. This time of year is a great time to review your after-tax portfolios and say, hey, is there anything I can take some losses on? Can I bank some of these? Because the good thing about carry loss forwards which is the losses you incur through your after-tax money that you book basically, is that they don't go away. The only time they go away is when you die. So they just keep carrying forward for as long as you want to bank them, and then you get to use them someday against some gain that you had, which we tend to do that frequently, especially when we're trying to tax optimize to make sometimes assets tax free from that end. So the third thing would probably be really looking at your retirement plan, right? There's a great guy, and we all know him by the name of Ed Slott, 40-year plus tax professional. And one of his themes is don't follow the herd, which means most people say, hey, max out your pre-tax 401k, put as much as you can in there. And what we know is that that's not tax plan. That's just lacking a plan. And what happens is while you save tax today, you create a giant tax time bomb later that you could be completely unmanageable and unavoidable from that end. So thinking through how you're saving for the things that are important to you in life is hugely important, and not being trapped in one bucket.
So Jason, if I'm looking at this page, it's really project income, right? 2 is review the tax plan in light of the One Big Beautiful Bill Act.
Mm-hmm.
And 3 is over on the right, last two really, track donations and review any gifting plans.
Yep.
Those are your big 3. Okay.
Those are my big 3.
We're going to keep it moving. Ken, from a retirement income planning standpoint, and now this is kind of a 2 sides of a coin, right? Because there's the accumulation years, which you can see a couple of these options address, but then there's the distribution years, which a couple of these options address. So what are the 3 or 4 things that are keeping you up at night as people are rolling into the end of the year and going into next year?
It's like I said, we are on a streak of double-digit returns over the last 3 years, where we're projected to wrap up the year. Interest rates have been cut and are projected to be cut further again in the next year. So now is the opportunity to rebalance, review where your assets are currently are. Are they positioned for income? Are there interest rates today that we could lock in that we may not be able to get in 6 months, in a year from now? Sometimes we meet clients that start with a portfolio. This is before they met us. We'll call it a 50-50 allocation. But with the way that we've seen returns over the last few years, by the time that they actually look and dissect where they're at, they might be at a 70-30 or an 80-20. And that's 80% stocks and 20% bonds, just because of how much that stock has appreciated. And that changes everything. They're no longer in alignment with their risk profile. So the next time that market zigs, how are you going to feel when you see your account make those kinds of movements? Could have we repositioned some of those into, again, something more conservative overall? The other thought is depending on what kind of investor you are as well, you might have some concentrated positions that have really ripped and roared. So while the stock market has been on a tear, the broad stock market's been on a tear the last few years, it's really revolved just a handful of tickers. And so if you're in one of those, even though you might have gone from 50-50 to now 60-40 or 70-30, the vast majority of that growth might have been in just a handful of companies. And again, that's now not just risk tolerance risk, that's now concentration risk, where you are overly concentrated in one holding. So being prepared for maximizing your income to the retirement point, but reviewing your investments, taking a look at what companies are spitting out dividends, and is that exactly where we want or need to be? The asset location, as Jason was talking about taxes, how are our dollars looking in traditional accounts versus taxable accounts, as well as our Roth accounts? And is that the balance that we ultimately want or need? If we need to make a change, the good news is with the new tax bill, or rather the tax bill being continued, there's a little bit longer runway for staying in our current tax brackets. But again, like any law or bill, things can be changed. So take advantage of it while you can.
So Ken, if I was to break that down over these last couple pages here, it's double check to make sure you're saving towards your goal.
Mm-hmm.
Double check the asset allocation, because to your point, if you're an S&P 500 investor, the Magnificent Seven has driven what, 80% of the gains in the S&P 500 over the last 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
That means the biggest 5 to 7 companies in the S&P 500 are responsible for 80% of the growth. And then the other 2, I guess, so 4 is asset location. This kind of goes back into something Jason talks about a lot with people from a tax planning standpoint. If you're $3 million in a traditional IRA or a traditional 401k, all you have done is kick the tax can down the road, and it's going to hurt in your mid 70s. It's going to hurt a lot. So do some planning in terms of asset location. What type of account is the dollar held in? And then, of course, with the employee stock options, there are companies that have done fantastically well. You might work for one of those Magnificent Seven. You might work for a private company, though. And, in that case, then we do have to look at how do we diversify. So, Ken, did I miss anything there?
No, it's just as if every decision is interconnected with one another.
Imagine that.
In the 5 pillars of financial freedom, every decision around taxes, retirement, investments, as we're going to continue, they're all connected and inform one another. But with that, yeah, let's keep moving.
All right. Talking about insurance, you need to review what you have. And so for our clients who are in, Southern California, who were affected by the wildfires, there's a few of them who were really surprised by what their property casualty insurance policy will do and won't do when something happens. When was the last time you reviewed it to make sure it's actually going to replace your home as in 2025 versus 1985 when maybe you first got it? Has that policy kept up with valuations? If you're a business owner, do you have indemnity policies? Have you structured LLCs, S corps, things like that to provide that layer of protection for yourself? If you do have any current insurance, when was the last time you reviewed it? Guys, how many people do you think we meet a year who bought term and said they were going to invest the rest, and now they're in their mid 60s and they've had a health crisis and that term's expiring? How many of those people do we meet a year, would you say?
Too many.
Yeah, it's at least half a dozen to a dozen households a year we meet that are in that exact scenario because they followed cookie cutter advice and didn't actually plan for what may come to pass later on. So when we talk about reviewing current policies and health insurance coverage, I'll say with health insurance coverage, if you're covered by your employer and you're getting close to retirement, do you understand how COBRA works? Do you understand how going out and getting Medicare works? Do you understand how the insurance exchange works? Are you prepared for the prices? Because even though the government's reopening in a few days here, those prices are going to go up dramatically as the government reopens. So from a health insurance standpoint, you've got to make sure you've got that stuff, but also what's your extended care plan? And is that funded? And that's the key thing, your extended care plan. Maybe you're older. Maybe you're thinking about, I could live a long time. I could get frail. And suddenly it's, how am I going to make sure I get the help I need and the care I deserve without crippling my family in the process? So from a health insurance standpoint, you've got to look at what we call acute care and extended care. Acute care is your health insurance from work, your COBRA, your Medicare, your insurance you're buying on your own through the exchange. And then there's the extended care, which is what happens when you get older and you do need someone to come in and help. The other thing, changes. Oh my gosh, the thing that you invested in 20 years ago, the insurance policy you bought, the business you founded is probably not the same thing as it is today. And when was the last time anything was reviewed to ensure it's caught up? There's that old saying, the cobbler's kids have no shoes. How many of you run a business where the value of that business has grown exponentially over the last 20 years, or own a home where the value of the home has grown exponentially, but none of your policies have been updated to reflect it? None of your legal documents have been updated to reflect it. Your estate plan hasn't been updated to reflect it. What happens then? So from an insurance standpoint, there's a lot to cover as well. Guys, we got some milestones coming up. What really jumps out to you guys in terms of milestones?
I'll start. The biggest one for me is 59 and a half. This is the first time that your liquid net worth is truly your liquid net worth of dollars that you can access. back to people that are, you were talking about term and invest in the difference. I would say 2 to 3 times as many people. So almost once a week, we meet somebody that has been an employee, has their 401k, and is learning that they have the ability to do what's called an in-service rollover and put those dollars into an IRA that has unlimited investment options in comparison to your 401k, which has the 10 or 20 investment options available to you. So it's the first time in your life that what you've been saving for, you finally have full control over. And I'll go one step further that ties into retirement and taxes is that between 59 and a half and 63 is a really important age to do and be considering some of your heavier Roth conversions because starting at 63, there's a 2 year look back on your Medicare premium, and our good old friend Irma makes your Medicare more expensive. So if Roth conversions were part of your strategy, if managing your taxes today, tomorrow, and for the next generation, doing so between 59 and 62 is some of the fortuitous times to do it. And again, yeah, it's the first time you have access to all your dollars. So let's see what makes sense.
So you've got options, is what you're saying. And you
For the
haven't
first
had those
time.
before,
Yeah.
right? Okay. Jason, what jumps out to you?
Two things. The top one, which is the catch-up contributions, right? Not just on IRAs, but on qualified retirement plans, because those catch-up contributions are going to have to start going towards the Roth component of those qualified retirement plans, starting in 2026. So just knowing that and kind of thinking through, like we talked about earlier, your buckets, tax-free, taxable, tax deferred, how you want to organize those buckets and that part, and using that law and limits to improve what you're doing there. And then the bottom one, RMDs 73. It goes back to what we've been talking about. Are you in control of how much tax you're paying, or are you out of control? That RMD will definitely let you know what your controls are and if you're out of control or in control. It will also could cause some pain on the healthcare part of what you have to pay. Like Ken said, IRMA is sitting there waiting to collect. And if your RMD is out of control, they definitely will raise your IRMA. We've had clients that had to pay $750 a month in IRMA each because of RMDs per person for RMDs being out of control. That could have got rectified if we would have started early doing the tax planning.
All right. So what I'm hearing is start tax planning before you turn 73.
Yeah.
Right? Like way before you turn 73. And number two is, and I know I'm broad brush stroking this, but number two is make sure you understand how things are changing as you're creeping up on these milestones, in terms of what's there for you. Is that?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Okay. The only thing I'll add to what Jason and Ken already said is if you wait till 50 to think about catch-up contributions, you should have started 2 or 3 years prior. If you wait till 55 about distributions out of a 401k, and I won't hit every one, but if you're waiting until the age on these screens, you are waiting too long. If you know you're going to do catch-up contributions to your plan at work, to your IRA starting at 50, the time to start budgeting that into your spending every year is 2 or 3 years ahead of time. So you get used to it because it is dollars that won't be coming into your household. Same thing about Social Security. The worst thing you can do is say, yeah, I'm taking it at 65, and at 65, you take it. You did no analysis. You didn't look at all in terms of long-term tax impact, anything like that. The RMDs Jason talked about, 73 for people born between 51 and 59, gradually moving up to 75 for everybody else. Well, guess what? You've got a lot of tax planning you need to do. And like Ken said, that starts really at 59 and a half, because 59 and a half, you can do some Roth conversions without it blowing up your Medicare later on, like Jason was talking about. So when people say, oh, it's not till my 70s, I beg to differ. It's 15, 20 years ahead of time that you need to start working through this. And occasionally someone will say, yeah, but a lot can happen between now and then. Well, I'll ask this. How many of you have heard the expression long days but short years? 20 years will go by fast, as we all know. 10 years goes by fast. 3 years goes by like that. And oh, yeah, I meant to. Oh, yeah, I meant to. Oh, yeah, I meant to. Yeah, it didn't happen. Do it now. Take action now on this stuff. Okay, we talked about health. From a healthcare standpoint, the thing I would zero in on is Medicare enrollment and then HSA accounts. I don't think people take enough advantage of HSA accounts because they're essentially, and there's a lot of detail behind them, but just essentially, they're a Roth IRA for healthcare expenses until you turn 65. And then as you get older, you've got more flexibility. Medicare enrollment options, you absolutely need to review what's available, and you need to make sure you understand what Medicare covers and what it does not cover. I can't tell you how many people are surprised when we say vision, dental, hearing, and long-term care or extended care, not covered by Medicare. And almost every time we bring that up where someone's surprised, they're like, no, it's got to be covered. And then we have to pull out the Medicare and You booklet and show them, hey, look here on page, what is it, Ken, 13? Here's the list of the things that Medicare explicitly does not cover. And you'll see those 4 things. Well, I'm wearing glasses. I have a permanent retainer from having braces when I was a kid. I have tinnitus. Those are 3 things that are not going to get better with age. They just aren't. It doesn't happen. So from a health standpoint, especially as you're getting older, you've got to have a good understanding of what you're in for. Ken and Jason, what stands out to you guys for this?
Health savings account. I mean, like you said, people don't understand how powerful that thing can be for not only today, but tomorrow when you need it for real healthcare cost, right? You know that health savings accounts can pay for a long-term care coverage, right? Tax-free from that end. So you can pay the premium for a long-term care policy that you have, or you can pay for some of the things that you have to pay for the incidents that you're dealing with the long-term care. So I just can't talk enough about health savings account and why people should, especially when you're young and you don't have any health issues, why you should be putting some money in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, for me, just like your homeowner's insurance, you should be shopping your Medicare plans every other year at minimum. Based off your zip code, there are demographical shifts that are happening around you that change your prices. And there are medical things happening to you that change your prices, or rather your need for coverage that maybe you didn't need a few years back. It's something to be engaged with overall.
All right. Big changes, and they never stop, right? It's actually a theme of this week's market update, which is go back 50 years, go back 100 years. People were worried about the same things then that we're worried about today, right? Did you get married or divorced? Was a child born? Did someone die? Did somebody get sick? Did somebody get better? Did you move? Did you sell something? Did you change jobs, right? Did you get a gift or inheritance, right? I mean, there's all these different things you can think about. Guys, to make it a little more positive, what would you say are some of the big positive surprises people see when things change unexpectedly?
I would say, yeah.
It's opportunity. If you've done the other 6 steps on a regular basis, you're prepared for a lot of things that life's throwing at you. And when you come from these mix-ups from a status of surplus, where you do have surplus assets or whatever it is, and that new grandbaby comes, or a loved one needs a little bit of extra help, and you can do it without any sweat, without any concern. You can be that person for that loved one. And we see this on a really regular basis of being able to give the blessing, the thumbs up, the ideas, the pathways of supporting each other, your community, your neighbor, your kid, your grandkid. But if you are not in a place of surplus, it's a lot harder to make those choices. So the when you can get to the other side of it and life happens, it can be a lot easier, I
My God,
guess.
Ken, you just scared the crap out of me. And
Yeah.
the reason why is Crystal, my wife and I have kind of joked about, nobody's going to a nursing home when it comes to my mom, her mom, and even her stepmom, who is just, 5, 6 years older than I am.
Hmm.
So, being in a position, oh my gosh, what if we're helping all three of them? Right.
Yeah.
But to your point, if the planning's been done on our part, on their part, it's easier, right? It's a lot easier. So, Jason, how about you?
Yeah, I mean, I think that all that kind of gels with what I think. I mean, you're talking about extending people's dignity um, throughout their end of life, right? And not only you being prepared for it, but hopefully have some influence over those people to help them get prepared for it. Sometimes it doesn't make sense for you to bear the brunt when you could let someone else bear the brunt of the economics while you just, do what's best for the loved one from that end. So I agree with that all day. And then job changes. I mean, we've seen a ton of things around the job market lately,
Yeah.
especially with technology companies, right? I mean, they're letting people go hand over fist because of the AI and everything else that's going on. So retooling, what are you doing to get ready for the new you in the job market space? And then what are some of the opportunities, like Ken said, to move forward with things that you couldn't do before, 401k and other things?
Fantastic. Okay. Family stuff, right? This is where the rubber hits the road. And you guys have both heard me over the years talk about your legacy is how you're remembered. There's always a financial component to it too, of course. But to me, if I can actually do these things, and I'll turn it over to Jason kind of in a second here, but if you can actually do these things and you can actually be present and you can be engaged in a positive way with your family, what a wonderful legacy that leaves. Matt might have been my goofy great uncle, grandfather, whatever, dad, but he was there and you could count on him right up to the end. That'd be awesome, right? That'd be awesome. Some people, it's, hey, you know what? That was the generation that really made a difference in our family financially. That's great too, right? That's great too. So for me, family, all this stuff leads into that. But guys, from your perspectives, what's important here? What should people be thinking about?
For me, the home run is review and fund trust, right? Most people create trust for that legacy component that you're talking about, and all kids, all grandkids, all nieces and nephews are not created equally. I mean, and they're not the same person,
Boy,
right?
that's for
Like
sure.
some view things differently. Some are spend more, some spend less. Some, they're just different people, and your documents should direct to that. There's some family members that I would not bestow $100,000 onto because it would wreck their life from that end, right? As opposed to maybe if you dole it out to them in $10,000 increments, then they can manage to that as opposed to large lump sums and things like that. So just really staying on top of that part and understanding the people that you're trying to help and who they really are and designing your legacy to that person.
Well said. Ken, how about you?
I'd simply say, what is all this for? And for a lot of folks, it can be family, it could be for themselves, it could be for charity or cause, but um, at the end of the day, it's just numbers on a screen, numbers on a paper. But what can we do? What can we do with these resources? And as Jason was talking about, depending on the structure that makes the most sense for you, um, review and funding trusts can make a lot of sense. Um, if we have been truly blessed with on some of our accounts and we are charitably inclined, there are some tax advantages we could be exploring. And comes down to legacy. Again, what's it all for? What is your legacy going to be? And as we've checked all the previous 7 boxes, the last one, this is it. What's it for?
Yeah, that's really well said, Ken. That's really well said. So what do? Review the list. Review it just in your own time. You're watching a football game, right? Having a glass of wine, drinking a beer, whatever, right? Review the list. Reach out to us. Let us know what you want to talk about. What's top of mind for you? Because as all of our clients know, and the prospects who get to know us, they also know our job is to help you get to where you want to be. And so what do you want to talk about as we go into 2026? What's changed? And if you were to prioritize things, what is your most pressing issue? Book a time. Like I said, you're going to get a copy of this in the mail. You've already got a PDF copy, but we need to make sure we address those changes. Guys, I don't see any questions in the chat, so I'll just put it right to our contact here for the firm. So if you want to reach out to us, you can always email us directly. A lot of you have our direct contact information, but we have a toll-free number, 888-339-0093. You can send an email to admin@mfplanners.com. And also missionfinancialplanners.com is our website. This will be on YouTube. Don't forget to check out our YouTube channel as well. We post content at least monthly. Well, no, weekly with our weekly market update we do. But make sure you check this out because there's a ton of educational information out there that can really help you make some informed decisions. With that, guys, we are right at about 40 minutes. Ken, last thought?
Guys, what a year. Let's crush it in 26.
Jason?
Get your tax plan together. Now's the time to start, not in 2026. Look at your tax report from last year and get your tax plan for 2026. Because the more you keep is the more you get to do stuff with versus whatever the government's going to do with it.
And everyone, don't forget, Toys for Tots. Okay, if you're coming into the office between now and December 11th, bring a bag of toys. It just needs to be new toys that haven't been wrapped. Bring something, right? Bring one toy. I don't care. Bring something that's new and hasn't been unwrapped. We will be giving all that to the Marine Corps Reserve on December 11th. So we've got about a month to raise toys, or I guess collect toys. I don't know. But you know, to get that. Last year, our foyer was like Santa's workshop. And then we even had people coming in after the cutoff. I had to go find a local restaurant that was still collecting to make sure that they got the toys. So thank you again, everyone, for a wonderful year. We hope you have a great holiday season. We are going to do one more webinar before the end of the year where we focus on estate planning. But again, thank you. Have a great Thanksgiving with your family, with your friends and your loved ones. And as always, thank you for your time. Feel free to get a hold of us if you have any questions. Thanks again, everyone.